I think I should start with last Saturday when Ross Atkins said too much wrong and said it clumsily, and then yesterday Mark Shapiro said not very much right, but said it smoothly. And meanwhile, Jays fans have every right to remain insulted about how the season ended and how the organization has attempted to spin things since then.
Perk?
Well, I mean, the easiest way was I heard all kinds of bullshit the first time, and I heard just as much bullshit the second time, but it was expressed better. That's all. I mean, it's ludicrous. I mean, the way that these people talk down to you, I mean, I've been on my soapbox for a long time. In history of baseball, it was never easier to make the postseason than this year, right? They went to 6 teams. In the American League, 7 of the teams weren't even trying. So you had like 1 or 2 teams to beat out. That was it. They back into the playoffs, throw a champagne party, right? They back into the playoffs by losing 6 out of 8, throw a champagne party, and then come out and stink. And then all I hear is how wonderful they are because they've made the playoffs 3 years out of 4. I mean, this is Leafs 2.0. They're hopeless when it matters. I mean, it is not an impressive feat to me to make the playoffs in the American League in 2023, when for the 3rd year in a row, they didn't even hit their under/over win target. You know, I mean, this is a vastly underachieving team that's been underachieving basically for 8 years that the Shapiro-Atkins team has been in charge. So, I mean, it's just like watching Shanahan screw up, Leafs screw up every year, and all I hear is how great Shanahan is, and he must come back. So now, same thing here. This team goes nowhere in the postseason, and well, everybody will be back because they sell a lot of $15 beers. Anyway,
I want to. We talked Atkins, we talked Shapiro, we haven't talked Schneider yet. And if you look at the contrast between the press conference after the game, and I think we all admit heat of the moment, he's got 20 minutes to think of what he's talked about. The other guys had days to think about what they were going to say. Just the contrast, whether it's the Barrios situation, whether it was the lack of offense, it appears to me, Dave Hodge, that John Schneider and Ross Atkins aren't on the same page. And does it matter?
Well, depends on your opinion about how much input there is prior to the game.
But we know how much input there is.
Well, no, but whether you think that's good or bad, if you might think it's bad, then you're leaving everything up to John Schneider. And if you think it's good, then you're leaving it up to whoever devised the plan to remove Jose Barrios in the 4th inning. And look, I know it's not the most important thing in the world, but I think this really is all about the plan to get Barrios out of the game. And I think you have to say it for what it was. It was a ridiculous plan that made no baseball sense. It led directly to the only 2 runs of a game that ended the Blue Jays season. The first question I wanted asked has not been answered yet. Who devised the plan? We know that Shapiro approved it and John Schneider carried it out, willingly or not. And Ross Atkins said, or at least intimated, that he didn't know about it, but somebody thought it was a good idea. Who?
Do you believe that he had no idea or didn't know about it?
I think he'd talk back his comments among many others and say that he was in the same position as Shapiro. He knew about it. He just didn't know when it would occur. But that's one of the many misstatements that Atkins made. He left the impression that he was sitting there with his mouth open like everybody else when John Schneider went to the mound or when Yusei Kikuchi began to warm up. I think that's a little hard to believe, but if that's true, if you want to take that version of it, then the dysfunction is even wider from Shapiro to Atkins to Schneider, but Perk, said basically they're talking down to the fans in terms of what they do on the field, in terms of how they do it, and they're talking down to the fans in terms of how they explain it. And meanwhile, the fans have a choice of either being as mad as they are and paying ridiculous prices next season, or deciding that this team has lost their confidence and must do something to restore it. And this past week has done nothing to do that.
Perk, I'm from like 30,000 feet here, and I'm a Blue Jay fan. I follow them. I cheer for them. I'm just having a difficult time. I put myself in the fan category of this one. I'm trying to digest what I saw this week from the three guys. And can you help me out in putting in order who is closest to telling me the truth and who is furthest away, if that's possible?
Well, I would not believe anything any of them say. I mean, this went on all season.
But they're all saying different things.
Exactly, which is how you know somebody's making something up. So
Yeah.
you don't know who. I mean, go back to the Bass thing, the way that was handled, and then hardly ever spoken of. Go back to this whole Manoa mystery, which the way that was handled or not handled, never explained. Like the guy disappeared, like he got kidnapped by aliens or something. Nobody seemed to know anything about it. Like it's goofy. I mean, somebody got to come out and say, well, here's what happened and here's our reaction to it and blah, blah, blah. And we move on because we got to go with the 20 or 26 guys we got. But nobody ever said anything like that. Like all I heard about the Bass thing when he insulted the LG community was a baseball decision. Goofy. Everybody knew it wasn't. Everybody knew it was ridiculous. And then the whole Manoa thing, like nobody knew what to believe because there was nothing coming out. I mean, so this last week is just more of the same in my estimation.
I just the one thing that I wonder about though is, and David, you touched about it, about spending dollars, is perhaps they know people will still spend their dollars. Isn't that really the fact?
Well, some already have signed up for season ticket packages at 3 or 4 or 5 times as much as they have been paying.
And they sold them out, by the way.
Well, okay, and they've also, depending on the price level, have demanded or asked for fans to sign 3 or 4 or 5-year commitments. So those who are paying the highest prices can be like $800 a seat, have signed up for 5 more years of this, or I guess they hope something better. But what if it's worse? They're on the hook for that. And I guess they prefer, these people that have paid this money to join these exclusive premium experience clubs, prefer that ribeyes mean actual steaks as opposed to runs batted in, if you get what I'm saying. And the Blue Jays made a statement that said, we are offering people more than just a blue seat. Well, I'm a baseball fan who's happy with just a blue seat.
Right. And there are lots of people in that boat, I would add.
Well, but I guess what confounds me, and our pal McCowan, who's going to be on a little later, has said that the Brios issue wasn't near as important as the inability to score runs.
Mm-hmm.
Where Perk, do you have any concept of where the runs went, of what happened to the big bats on this ball club?
Terrible fundamentals. I mean, there was 100, maybe 200 times this year we saw a leadoff double, never got to third base, right? I mean, this team absolutely has zero situational hitting. Every single guy is trying to hit a 6-run home run on basically every at bat. My friend Hodge pointed something out way back when. when Bichette, everybody said, oh, isn't Bichette wonderful? We have to give him 300 million, blah, 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 blah. When he's leading the American League in hits and he's second to Ohtani in total bases, he was 35th in the league in runs scored. A, he's a terrible base runner, always has been. But B, they don't start runners. They don't put pressure on people. They hit into a million double plays, as we know, because this is the way they choose to play the game. They do not take advantage of what they have. The only guy who's, I mean, you know, a lot of these guys get on base, and even though they don't start runners at the appropriate moments, they still play run till you're out baseball. Some of these guys, like, it's just a terrible lack of fundamentals.